Oh, Bud!
There's nothing wrong in learning how to dance, son.
We'll help you learn to dance.
I'm never gonna learn to dance.
Please, Bud.
No!
Michael and Job continued their fight onto the courthouse steps.
Stop it before someone gets hit in the face!
Hit me in the face, please! No! Hit me in the face! Buster! Buster!
While Marta, who'd been told the hearing would last 10 minutes, got tired of waiting.
Hey! Hey!
Marta? Marta?
What is wrong with you? I thought you were good people. I thought you were noble. I thought you care about family, but you clearly don't.
We usually think of eras in terms of science or human development, but cultures evolve too, and you can see that evolution most clearly in our television. If you look back at the family sitcoms of the previous century, we can trace a fundamental shift in what we idealize. The once full-hearted, happy-go-lucky stories our parents and grandparents used to watch have now turned into a damaged, deranged mess with no hope for normalcy. How did this happen? When did it happen? Let's roll back the clock and see if we can see a change in when we found the beginning of the family trauma genre. What up, you guys? I'm Kent E.S. Larwill, and I'm a writer, YouTuber, who talks about everything from philosophy, politics, storytelling, and more. The easiest way to support what I do is to subscribe to this channel and like this video. It's free and takes a second to do. There are many places we could mark the beginning of the family sitcom, but Father Knows Best is a good starting point as any. It began on radio before moving to black and white TV in the early 1950s, where it followed the Andersons through the gentle struggles of everyday life. Each episode offered a low-stakes quibble, a moral lesson, and some good old wholesome early-era TV comedy. Another one we would maybe think of is I Love Lucy. Shows like this laid the foundation for what we would see to come next. The 60s put a surreal spin on the formula, swapping the nuclear family for fantasy characters. This is the era of the Munsters, Bewitched, and the Addams Family. Even with witches and monsters, the premise stayed the same. Family is the core, and family is the solution. The comedy remained wholesome, even if the characters were surreal and spooky. Then the 70s arrived, with a little more grit to the mix. All in the Family introduced Archie Bunker, everyone's favorite loudmouth bigot, and the Jefferson spin-off followed in its wake. The tone grew edgier, the social commentary got sharper, but the framework was still the same. If you look over the harshness of these characters, there remains a tenderness for the people close to them, as they still want the best for their relatives. Family was messy, but it was still the engine that resolved the conflict. The 80s and 90s dialed back the racial commentary, but kept the edge. We got The Cosby Show, Married with Children, and of course, The Simpsons. These shows leaned harder into conflict between family members. The edge of the era sparked a realness that was lacking from previous eras of sitcom. Even when Maggie was shooting Mr. Burns, we got a greater sense of relatability to these families as they wrestled a little more with each other. Dysfunction was acknowledged, sometimes even celebrated, but even then, the family unit ultimately pulled together to solve their problems in a tidy 22-minute runtime. But then the 2000s arrived, and something really crucial changed. Arrested Development struggled to find an audience at first, but for many of us, it felt shockingly fresh. It won Emmys, built a cult following, and eventually returned on Netflix years later. This show gave us a large cast of characters in the Bluth family, who all had their own interests and goals, which clashed on a regular basis with fellow family members. I know I'm not alone for saying how groundbreaking this show felt, but back then I really didn't understand why. What made Michael Bluth and his cast of family crazies feel so different from the family sitcoms of the previous century? It boils down to this. In Arrested Development, for the first time in sitcom history, family wasn't the solution. family was the problem. This is the beginning of the family trauma genre. The family is no longer wholesome, nor is its dysfunction lighthearted or one-dimensional, and no longer will the family ever stand perfectly against the world. The family is in a constant fight with itself, with no possible way of escaping its own grasp. It isn't just showing a dysfunctional family. The family's dysfunction is the whole point of the show. Gone is the idea of the family standing together against the world as one cohesive unit. For now, the family is instead locked in a constant fight with itself, with no real way to escape its own gravitational pull. The dysfunction is not just present like in The Simpsons or Married with Children. The dysfunction is the whole point of the show. It is the theme and often the entire plot of an episode, or possibly even the entire series. Every other family sitcom before this held to the cohesion of the family unit. Yes, Archie Bunker disagreed full-heartedly with his daughter and son-in-law, and Homer rage-choked Bart more than a few times, but these fights between family members would be resolved by the end of the episode, and would usually be complemented by some joint accomplishment which the family could share in together. The family would have its internal struggles, but they would almost always overcome these struggles, all wrapped up in one digestible episode. You could almost say the family unit became its own character in and of itself with the older sitcoms. The title of many of these shows demonstrate this. You see this in The Simpsons, The Jeffersons, The Addams Family, The Munsters. The name of the show references the family being as one, and a lot of the episodes revolve around the family taking on the rest of the world. To fast forward to the 2000s, you would never call a show like Arrested Development The Bluths. Even if you did, it would almost land ironically, as if the audience would laugh and say, like the Bluths would ever come together for anything, not even a family photo. Arrested Development does an almost 180 to the notion of the family sitcom functioning as a family unit. Instead, now every single member of the family is a divisible agent functioning for themselves, as they each have their own goals, and many of these individual goals directly conflict with at least one other family member. Yes, there is still outside struggles which the family has to face together, but the main conflict almost exclusively arises due to conflict with other family members, and the problems outside of the family are usually made all the more difficult to resolve, solely because the Bluth family can't get out of its own way. This is the dynamic of the modern family sitcom, and it is why we are so drawn to the family trauma genre. No one wants to see the lovey-dovey family get along well enough to solve a problem. We want to see these families on screen tear each other apart in a spectacularly Shakespearean fashion. Why? Well, first of all, it pulls the drama to all new heights, but secondly, and more importantly, it depicts how family actually works, and so we want to witness real family dynamics unfold before our eyes. In doing so, we see ourselves on the screen. We used to watch family sitcoms so that we would feel comforted. Now we watch them to feel seen. A few years after Arrested Development is cancelled from Fox, we get Modern Family, and although it is fair to say it lightens heavily on the cynicism of family dysfunction in Arrested Development, we still see a family feud taking more of a center stage role. It gaps between holding on to the older style of sitcom while trying to grasp the newer edge of Arrested Development. You could almost say Modern Family was the reactionary sitcom that tried to take some of the edge from Arrested Development, while also returning back to the old style comedy as a safer play to keep ratings up. Shameless carries the torch of the family trauma genre sitcom into the 2010s, and as this comedy boom continues, we see the same dynamic overtake drama series as well. Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, Peaky Blinders, Ozark, there's Jason Bateman again, Yellowstone, The Bear, and the motherlode of all motherlodes of family trauma genre, Succession. We have been watching this family trauma genre now for a quarter of a century. It almost makes us want to ask ourselves, are we all right? Which of course the answer is no. No, we're not. This era is an age which has been plagued by a decline in multiple metrics. The optimism of the 90s pretty much fell off the map when 9/11 happened, setting in motion an age of fear. Then the 2008 recession hit due to the mortgage bubble. The 2010s followed with a great deal of civil unrest and political divisiveness. And then COVID hit. All the while we have seen an erosion or breakdown of the family unit. So for TV dramas to emulate the times, we've been engaging in facing these breakdowns again and again, sitcom after sitcom. Once again, we used to watch family sitcoms so that we would feel comforted. Now we watch them to feel seen. And it seems as though this isn't going to change anytime soon, as many of these shows continue to thrive to this day. Maybe we're not all right, but at least we're honest about it. We may no longer turn to TV for the same kind of comfort of the century before, but we are nonetheless soothed and vindicated when we watch yet another unraveling of the family trauma genre. And if you like that video, then you can check out my book where I talk about that and many other issues that might help you. It's got a title so edgy, I'm not even sure if I can say it on YouTube. So check it out in the description. And as always, if you want, you can like, subscribe, and all that other fun stuff. More videos coming, of course.